Good evening. It's 6:30, so let's begin the July 10th Committee of the Whole meeting. Um, I know we're going to be having a senior neighbors presentation. I believe Bob Barnes is going to be giving that. So if he wants to step up to the podium and ensure that your mic is showing red, you can begin.
Showing red. All right.
All right.
Good evening. Well, thank you so much for partnering with Senior Neighbors. We're really excited about getting the Senior Center going here. They've already begun the renovations. They started last week, and they tell me the demolition portion of it is already done. And so they're starting on working on other stuff. Our plan is to open in September. We hope early September. We don't have a date exactly yet. We're anticipating doing a soft opening as soon as we're able to open, and then working together with the city to do a grand opening where we can get lots of, hopefully lots of people in the community involved in understanding that we're doing that. The hours for the center will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 2. And we were very fortunate to get ARPA funding from the county to do this project. It was very competitive, and so we were thrilled to get that. We also got money from the Kent County Senior Millage, and we really appreciate everybody who assisted us in helping to express the importance of this work and getting that funding. It's vital to the project. At Senior Neighbors, we have always believed in the importance of socialization for healthy aging, and the pandemic absolutely shined a really bright light on that. And about half the people we serve at Senior Neighbors live alone, and so they're more at risk to not have enough social contacts to really keep them healthy. So the Senior Center can really help with that. I think the simplest secret to aging well really is to keep moving, and that's our bodies and our brains, and to continue to have a purpose. And the Senior Center can really assist seniors in doing all those things. So really, our point of the center is to serve a growing population of older adults living within Walker and help them maintain their independence. According to and you might have newer numbers, but according to the 2019 census estimate, about 20% of the Walker population is over the age of 60, and 14% are between 50 and 59. And so, we have a lot of potential seniors to go to the center in the city of Walker. Really what we're trying to do is to increase the Walker residents' abilities to benefit from the senior millage at the same time. So the senior millage is serving all residents of Kent County, and we think it's important to serve the Walker residents with those services as well. So often for older adults, over time, their connections to other people tend to erode. And I think you are probably all incredibly busy people, and you probably would like a break and not to talk to people for a while. You do that for a little while and it gets old fairly fast, and so it's important to keep people engaged, and senior centers really do that. The goals in the center are we help people have better nutrition. Many older adults, really regardless of income, do not eat terribly well, especially people living alone. You think about the work it takes to hit all the food groups and do all those things, and then as people get less able to get out and to the store and prepare food and all that sort of thing, there's many reasons why older adults often don't eat as well as they should. So we partner with Senior Meals, which is now Meals on Wheels of West Michigan. Give me a couple more years and I will have that down. They changed their name a couple years ago. And they prepare the meals, and then we serve them at the centers, which again helps seniors maintain their independence and be healthy. We work really hard to provide an atmosphere that's welcoming and inclusive. It's tough that first time to walk into a senior center when you don't know people there and that sort of thing. So we really work with everybody there to try to make sure it's a friendly, inviting, warm sort of place to be. We provide activities. We operate actually 5 senior centers, and all of the centers are very different, and we kind of work with the seniors in the centers to figure out what's important to them, what kind of activities they would like to have going on in the centers, and we can change that based on really what they're interested in. Lots of social opportunities to create relationships. I remember a story a few years ago of a woman whose husband passed away. And I think the thing that impressed her the most was how much the seniors in the center took care of her when her husband passed away. And just, she talked about the number of cards she got from people checking in on each other. We find that at the senior center, if somebody doesn't show up, people will notice that, and they will take it upon themselves to check in on them and make sure they're doing okay. We are hoping to see 100 to 150 seniors in the center on a regular basis. Daily attendance at the previous center, pre-COVID, was 30 to 75, kind of depending on what the programming was happening at the center. We have a lot of different things that happen at the center. I would say for all of our senior centers, the most popular things are parties and music. And they really love the music, and we have lots of different music groups that come in and appeal in different ways to different people. We bring in health and wellness speakers that can identify concerns and bring ideas about how people can have healthy living. Coffee time is a big thing there. We're really setting this center up to be comfortable. We've got kind of an area with kind of some comfy couches and that sort of thing. We're going to try to coffee. I don't drink coffee myself, so I don't really get coffee, but people love their coffee. So we're trying to do some stuff with that and give people some choices of different kinds of coffees to have and that sort of thing. We do outings and sometimes overnight trips and that sort of thing if people are interested. There's typically card games and board games going. Arts and crafts, many people like to be involved in the arts and crafts, another thing I don't get, but a lot of people love that stuff. So that's okay. We try to appeal to lots of different things that people have interest in. We'd love to do cooking classes and demonstrations. Especially it's often helpful for people learning how to cook for one. And it's often, especially of, the senior generation now, many of the men have not really done a lot of meal prep in their marriages, and if their wife passes away, that kind of puts them in a bind figuring out what to do with that, so we can work with them on that. So lots of different activities. Our objectives for this, so we do surveys. Social services are notoriously difficult to measure outcomes and that sort of thing, so surveys seem to be our best way of doing that. So we ask them questions about what the senior's done for them. The goals that we're looking for will be 85% will say that the center has helped them socialize more. 60% will say they eat more regularly and feel healthier because they come to the center. 80% will report that the center helps them be more active. 85% will state that the participation in activities at the center help them either improve or maintain their health, which is really the bottom line for us with all of this. And 50% will state that they learn new skills or activities while they're at the center. So we want people to continue to find ways to grow and find new things to do. So that is just kind of the quick sketch of what we plan to do. And I'd be happy to take any questions that anybody might have around any of that.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Of course, Tom.
I always have a question. How you doing, Bon?
Okay, good.
Commissioner Groters and I were real pleased to be at the Meyer Garden event. What was it, last month or so?
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, we're thrilled to have this center. Are we going to talk about the agreement tonight? Can we do that now?
Sure.
All right. And again, I'm a huge fan, huge supporter of this. I'm just being me on the basics in the agreement, and make sure we sort of have it in the right place and we have the words right. Is it that the city really is not going to be able to use this space at all unless we give you 30 days notice, or is it just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? Like, what goes on Tuesday and Thursdays?
It will be primarily the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We've talked about having the opportunity to use it for other things that might come up in between there. So I think, we'll try to be as flexible as we can and that sort of thing. I guess if we can talk about how to make that work for
I mean,
each.
I don't know how often we would use it, but if we needed to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we built there. If we give them advance notice, if we need it on a Tuesday, and then also we already know elections, we're gonna need it for those days. They'll have those dates well in advance of when the city wants to use it and utilize it. And the seniors will be, using the upstairs, so we'll still have the lower level that fire department can use for some of their training and some of their exercising and stuff. But we wanted to give the seniors as much flexibility as they have, and if they have something scheduled for a Tuesday or Thursday, I mean, big deal. If we're not using it, it's theirs to use during the day. So
Okay. And then my only other comment is the dollar fee per year, which I don't really have a problem with. Personally, I just get concerned that somebody else is going to come back, right after this, say, well, we want a space too for $1. So it might be helpful if we, and it's the Gestapo League of America or something, somebody we don't want to give a space to.
yeah, I think that's more of a legalese thing, where because it's a license, we have to charge a fee per se for that license.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just postulating maybe having a little bit of a preamble, and even under the acknowledged facts section, saying something like, look, we recognize this is a public good. It's something that's for the benefit of our community. It's like a library or a park or whatever for our seniors, and this public good has a value, and that's why we're charging a buck. You know what I mean? It sort of outlines why this is unique, and not every other organization that comes to us is going to get a yes. That's what I would propose.
Yeah, and I just to touch on the agreement a little bit. Bob and I have been working for the past, 3-4 months on this, back and forth, different iterations of going through and, just clarifying the use, the hours, those types of thing, and what the city's gonna provide with, as far as utilities, all the outside maintenance and everything will be our responsibility, like we did at the former center, but at least we have some parameters in place now where the seniors will be pretty much doing everything inside their own, maintenance, cleaning type stuff, but we'll be providing everything on the outside and utilities and those types of things. So, there is a cost to the city and that we're putting into this, which I think gets to the public good that you're speaking of, Tom. So there's that nexus too between the dollar and everything else that the city is providing for, our side of the ledger for this, and the seniors being able to staff it and run it and do all the programming. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So.
Yeah, I think that's how we got support from the millage for the thing, for the renovations, as well as we get millage support for staffing and that sort of thing. So it's this shared responsibility of providing the services.
And I think that's what convinced the county to, provide some ARPA funding also, knowing that it was not just the seniors, but the city had some skin in the game also.
Yeah, no, I got it. I agree with all that. I think we should say that something about why this is different, why this is unique. That's what I'm suggesting, because then we're sort of covered for any other ideas that might come up that we don't think fit the same category.
I would agree with that. Have some verbiage in there maybe to say good for the good of the people. And considering that there's a lot of your percentages for people that are in that category, the age category, as well as up and coming. I know I just turned 59, so I'm falling right in there. So I know that it's an important thing, and we're excited as a city of Walker to be in this collaboration with you. It's going to be very positive for the community. But yeah, we might just want to put an addendum in there for the license, just to say for the good of the public. So,
Yeah, we could do something in
one
that
additional
section 1
sentence.
where the acknowledge of the facts, we'll just put some verbiage in there that kind of addresses that.
It will protect us from other entities wanting to have the same kind of a license with us, if that comes
Well,
about.
this has to come for your approval anyway, so if anybody else
It's
comes,
true.
they'll have to come and you can make that decision at that point. But no problem, we'll add something in the first paragraph.
Just a small sentence would be
Yep.
satisfactory for myself. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you
Again,
very
we're
much.
looking forward to this collaboration, and I can't believe September's right around the corner. It's going to
I
be
know.
right here before you know it.
It will be.
Just to note also, the agreement's good for runs for 5 years, but then gets approved on 5-year increments after that. So if there is something that comes up in the next, that we discover after we're operating on either side, we'll have an opportunity to address it if we need to and amend the ordinance as we go, or agreement as we go forward. This really protects both of us. I mean, we didn't have anything at the other station, so there are always questions coming up of who does this, who does that? Well, I think we have the answers now of whose responsibility. If something comes up, we'll work it out like we
And
have all.
we've had great communication with the staff in the city of Walker. It's going great. So thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate it.
very welcome. Thank you.
So this is on the agenda at 7 o'clock, but I think if you're comfortable with it, I don't think you need to have Bob stay unless he wants to, so I'll leave it.
No, I think we're good, Bob. Well, head count here. Everybody comfortable? Okay. Yeah, Bob, you're free to go. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. It's beautiful. Okay, next up, we're going to be talking about the library A&E, or the architectural and engineering contract approval with Studio GC. Scott, I'm thinking that you're going to walk us through this action item.
Yeah, I can run through it actually really
All right.
fast, because I think this is a pretty easy item. Yeah,
Take your time.
you don't want to give me extra time. So the contract that's before you tonight is for the architectural and engineering services for Studio GC. This is not our standard contract, so when you look at it and it looks different, it is different. This is more of an architectural base. It comes from AIA's templates, portfolio, but we did go through this in great detail with our attorney's office and made a lot of adjustments and contributed quite a bit of information. We feel like it's a pretty solid document for both parties. The things that are not included in what you saw tonight is that we added as attachments to the agreement the original request for proposals, the proposal from the architect dated April 14th, the presentation from the architect dated May 12th, and written answers from the architect dated May 18th. So every document that we've gotten from them along the way has been added to this contract or this agreement, so that if there's any question, we can refer back and stay the course and kind of follow the plan that we had all along. So we feel pretty good about it. We're just here to answer questions.
Okay, let me open it up to the commissioners. Are there any questions, comments, or? That's all right. Go for it.
Just one. Scott, could you help me? I got a little confuzzled on the option 3, if it exceeds the expenses on page 22. If you go option 1, option 2, and option 3, I didn't really understand what the options were. And then if you go over option 3, what you do.
So in their proposal, they gave us 3 potential visions for how they could fit the library over in our block, in the middle block on our campus. What we're going to end up with are options that aren't even going to look like these 3 necessarily. They're going to be a little bit of a hybrid of them. We wanted to add some of our institutional knowledge to their concepts, so that when they polish up 3 ideas, we've contributed to them as well. Because if we're just asking somebody from out of town to come in and tell us, then they might miss the boat on some of the special parts of our campus. Those options are the 3 that they gave us. We're going to have to be a little bit flexible and massage those a little bit, but they have agreed to try to hold to those numbers in terms of what we're calling the visioning process. Now, we did add a caveat in here for parts 2 and 3, which are for the design, the actual full design once we pick a concept, and then also for the construction management side, that if we come up with something way more grandiose than we've let on, that we would be willing to work with them a little bit on the cost, because they really extrapolated out in their proposal. They were making huge estimates and guesses as to what we're going to want. And we didn't have a lot of vision for them because we needed them to help us with the vision. So there may be a little bit of a massage that occurs during phase 2. But as we kind of looked at our moral compass for this, we thought we do have to be fair about that. We don't want to hold them to a number if we double the size of what we're going to do, for example.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And having just visited Holland, I got all kinds of new ideas
I
for things
know,
we need
right?
we need to do and greatly expand our project. Like make a farmer's market down the promenade there, going to the police building.
No, I'm with you.
So yeah, okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think those options were based upon the size of those options, right? The square footage and potentially the cost of them, because the 3 that they gave us in the proposal varied. Some were bigger than others, so, and their fees were based on a percentage of construction costs. So those are just the ranges that they were targeting on those
Right.
3 concepts.
It's really more about the process on this part. Looking at, they're going to do a lot of research on our campus and try to make sure that they can match the same architecture that we have, and that they're not going to drop something in the middle that doesn't look like it belongs. And I think that's really what this section is about.
So Scott, you want to give them just a quick update that we put the cart before the horse a little bit because we had our first kickoff meeting last week knowing that this was coming on the agenda, so maybe you could just give them a quick update of how that meeting went.
Sure. So we're going to be meeting every 2 weeks. We've got a staff team that includes a member of the library, the Kent County Library Board, and we're going to be meeting every 2 weeks to have progress updates and to have some give and take back and forth. And so this isn't going to be just one of these exercises where we just show up and listen. This is going to be where we actually have to participate. We have homework. We have work to do just like the consultant does. And at our first meeting, we had a nice review of the complex. We talked a little bit about the past fish spec studies that have been done. We talked a little bit about concepts for the 3 different potential design ideas that we're going to look at, and we just really had a great kickoff. And they brought quite a few folks from Chicago. They had a couple of local folks from their local team, and it was just very productive. I think our next meeting, we're going to go take a look at a couple of different local libraries here. I believe it was Ada, Cascade, Wyoming, and then potentially Allegan, just to kind of stir the pot and the creativity a little bit and to try to help come up with some ideas. And really not so much for the library folks as much as for the city folks to show us a little bit more about what's out there, because if you're really into libraries, you know what's out there. But we need to see that too, so that when they throw out an idea, we don't just say, no, we can't do that. We want to be open-minded and creative.
Granville's new one is nice too.
That's what I was saying.
Price we're looking at, I think.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Burke, didn't you visit them not too terribly long ago? Okay. One thing I envision like enclaves being there, so you can kind of close the door and have your own little space, just for people who may want to, I don't know, to have a book club there or do other various activities. I know that I've seen that in a lot of office concepts, at my business, they have those types of enclaves which work very, very well with closed-door meetings where, if it's a study group or whatnot. So I'd like to, have us think a little bit about that too, without having to partition off, rooms down the future, kind of think ahead, which I'm sure that's what
Right.
Studio GC is going to be doing.
The East Grand Rapids Library does that really well. When we go there from school and stuff, you could reserve the rooms for 2-hour increments and stuff, so then we could
Exactly.
It's exactly what we've
study groups
talked about,
and
and
stuff in there,
it's right at the top of their list. They said the most used part of a library today are those study rooms. And
True.
so really, it's more about how many, what size, technology. Do you want to have open glass so you can see in? They've certainly, our library folks have recommended that you don't
I
want to have
would.
those. You don't want to have those smoked,
No.
so that you can't see in. You want to have an open environment, but there's a lot of technology that can go in there to help teams too that are in there working on projects, or even staff people if we just want to get away.
Yep.
Might be times we might float over there and say, I need to focus.
Granville's got some of those study rooms.
Yeah, they're
and-
nice.
And businesses use them too. I did ask them about, are people, I don't want to say abusing the room, but using it, one business person using it all the time.
Well, that's
kind of
what I was
thing.
gonna say,
So you got to
too.
kind of watch the balance there. But you said the most important thing is those rooms. I think the most important thing about this thing is going to be the kids center or whatever that is, right? Because we know that is the biggest draw right now, and it's massively overburdened. So I think
It is.
the biggest thing is going to be getting that right for
100 square feet's not enough.
perhaps not.
The nice thing is we can hit a whole bunch of marks as we go here. We're going to make
Yeah.
sure there's a community space that can be used for training, can be used for events. There'll obviously be a children's area. I hope there's a senior area. One of the libraries I looked at on the other side of the state, they had a great senior area with a fireplace, and they had newspapers that were hung up on wood dowels for that day, so that if people were kind of old-fashioned in terms of wanting to get their hands on a paper, they could go and hang out with their coffee in the morning. So there's a lot of ideas floating around. And I think we know which ones are going to make the cut for sure, but then there's probably room for a handful of more creations.
Good.
Outdoor spaces was also another big thing that we talked about out there. And a lot of the public input we've already heard from library surveys when we did the event over at the Ice and Fitness Center, and the online surveys. So they'll have all that information also. And I've already synthesized some of that into some of the concepts. So it's good.
So, and we can try to bring back updates now and then without overloading you too much. The next really formal step for us is probably going to be bringing in an RFP for a construction manager, because we want to hire a construction manager soon that would help out with the design side and then take the lead when it comes time to build it. So that'll be coming soon.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've already discussed the senior neighbors license agreement. Do we have any more commentary for that, or good on that?
Nope, I think we touched on everything on that, unless you have any additional questions, but we'll take your comment into consideration and amend that.
I'm good. Do we have time to do commissioner comments and city manager comments? Okay, let's go ahead and start with Madam Clerk. Okay, Commissioner Babcock.
Just thank you to City of Holland for the Community Exchange Day. I think we all had a lot of fun and learned a lot. Me and Commissioner Burke, I believe, went to the Brownfield session with Frank and learned a lot of valuable information from that as well. So looking forward to kind of seeing what comes from that. And then attended the ribbon cutting for Lee Industrial Contracting, and that was very successful, very well put on. So thank you to them as well.
Commissioner Groders.
Yeah, we were at the ribbon cutting, and I was really super impressed with their facility, and I really want to go back and really see if those floors are really still white.
They're very proud.
They are very proud of them. They swear they clean them every day. And like, I don't know. But it was great. It was a really nicely done event.
Good. Commissioner Heisenberg Chase.
I just want to say thanks again to the City of Holland. I think we all learned a lot of valuable things and able to have a resource, and then looking forward to hosting them in a couple weeks.
Commissioner Burke.
Yeah, here, the Holland trip was great. And just getting the thought of how you kind of have a vision for what you want to do and what they've been able to do over 40 years is pretty impressive. As Commissioner Babcock said, I did go to the Brownfield thing, and what was interesting about it, Paula was there too, at the session I went to. And what was interesting about it was it's kind of a misnomer, as I understood it, it doesn't have to be a brownfield, because our brownfields are mostly, Superfund sites. I mean, they're not necessarily prime candidates to redevelop as some of these other places you might think. But this particular thing, it's a transformational sort of another tool to allow you to maybe, like, if we have a big box store on Alpine, for example, we've got an enclave out there that starts, the business folds under and it's an empty building. This provides basically tax abatement incentives to developers to maybe make that mixed-use facility we've been talking about a little bit, and make a 3-story apartment building with shops in the bottom, make a little community center. It gives more incentives to the developers to do those kinds of things. And Housing Next was at the one I went to. I talked to them a little bit about that and how we might use that tool. And it also allows, it has the county put in place its own brownfield management system, so we don't have to do it as a city. Because you're going to have auditability. You're going to have a paper trail for how everything is, all the taxes and incentives are laid out, and so the burden then is put on the county to help communities do that, and we would be one of them. So it's quite interesting. Thanks.
Daryl.
I could do it in 2 minutes.
All right.
Sorry I missed the Holland Exchange, but I'll be here for when they visit here on the 27th. I think you got that updated date switch from the 13th to the 27th. So we'll work on planning that probably later this week or the following week. And then just a reminder that I think CDD, or Frank had sent out through CDD, the report that they compiled on the residential mix of development. So kind of take a look at that.
yeah.
I know I spoke to the mayor today. At some point, I think he wants to really, dive into a little bit deeper discussion with the commission. So take a look at that. And I think Megan and Paula did a really good job of summarizing, and Kelly with the information. So that's all I have.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I like the percentages, and I like the way they laid it out. It was easy to go through and easy to interpret. I thought that they did a very nice job. I too attended the Holland visit, and I thought that it was a great experience learning their best practices. It was a very hot day and a very long walk, but their hospitality was great, and they just had a great interaction. Mayor Box and their city staff and Holland council members were great. They were a very good interactive exercise for us as commissioners to be. It was not only fun, but I learned a lot about the history of Holland, and it's just really, that walking tour was just really cool. I thought that was a great way to really show people who are visiting what your town or city is all about. So I was very impressed. Okay, that's all I have. So we'll close the committee of the whole meeting and we'll go right into our other meeting. Let me get my pages here. So are we ready to go? All right, so it's 7 o'clock, so let's start the meeting. Commissioner Burke, can I ask you to lead us in prayer and then Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful weather and a chance to get out and about around town under sunny skies. Guide us in our endeavors to improve the quality of life in the city and the greater community. Look after us all, especially those in need and those who protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll call?
Commissioner Babcock,
Present.
Commissioner Groders,
Present?
Commissioner Chase,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present.
Commissioner Burke.
present.
Okay. So moving on to approval of absences. Do I have a motion and support to approve Mayor Carey and Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner Gilbert's absence?
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, I didn't have that part in my note. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you guys are gonna have to remind me of that. All right, I didn't have that in my notes. Okay, next is the approval of the minutes from our June 19th, 2023 meeting. Are there any questions or any discussions that we want to have on that? Looking that there is none, can I have motion and support of the minutes?
So moved?
Support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. I think I'm doing that right. Okay, next up, any public comment on agenda items? Don't be shy. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Reports from the city manager regarding the library A&E contract approval. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion and support for the library contract?
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, contingent agenda items. Expenditures, are there any questions or comments about the expenditures? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion and support for the expenditures in the amount of $504,565.81. Do I have a motion?
I'll
Do
make a
both of
motion.
these items
Oh,
together as one
okay, I
motion.
had them broke up there. Along with the Senior Neighbors License Agreement. Can I please have a motion and support?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the expenditures and the senior neighbors license agreement as slightly amended as we discussed.
Support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to other public comments. Okay, seeing none. I'm going to ask, do we have any more comments on the commissioners or city managers? No. Okay, our next meeting is going to be July 24th at 6:30. And if there is no other discussions, I'm going to seek motion and support for adjournment.
So moved?
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.